Okay, well, it is 6:30 on October 1st, 2024. So I'll call to order this meeting of the Manchester Conservation Commission, held under the auspices of the State Wetlands Protection Act and the local wetlands bylaw. Our purpose here is to protect the wetland resources and to serve our neighbors. Since this is a virtual meeting, I'll just review some of the ground rules, which are that we are recording on Zoom, which will capture your image as well as your sound when you speak. So if you would rather turn off your video, feel free. Secondly, there will be periods when public comment is permitted, and I will indicate when that is. If you have a comment or a question on a particular matter during that time, please indicate by raising your hand physically or virtually with the raise hand function in Zoom. And wait till I call on you, then give us your name and address or other identifying information. Please try to limit your comments to 2 minutes. If you have substantive comments or questions, please don't put them in the chat function. That does not become part of the permanent record and should be used only for technical issues. Finally, we'll conduct all of our voting by roll call, and I'll begin that by calling the roll of the commissioners and our staff. First, Vice Chair Sari Oseason.
Here.
Dr. Olga Hayes.
Here.
Mr. David Lumsden.
Here.
Dr. Gordon Turner.
Muted, but here.
Thank you.
Dr. Henry Odger.
Here.
And Dr. Jeffrey Bodmer Turner.
Here.
And I think that's it. From our staff, we have Conservation Administrator Kristen Farr here. And also, I believe, our Clerk and Secretary, Eva Palmer.
Here.
Great. Thank you for your service and your help always. I also note that we have at least one visitor from town administration, which is Mark Resnick, our town planner. Welcome, Mark. Our first matter of business tonight is an executive session. And this is, sorry, I'm a little disorganized. Excuse me 1 second while I retrieve my paperwork for this. Thank you. All set. So this is pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation. Particularly when an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body, and I, as chair, so declare. So at this point, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session under General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation known as Corsetti versus Manchester Conservation Commission, Essex Superior Court, docket number 2277 CV01266. Because I declare that discussing the matter in open session may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the Conservation Commission, with the commission to return to open session at the conclusion of the executive session. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Sari?
Aye.
Olga?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Henry?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
And the chair is an aye as well. At this point, I will set up a breakout room. And we'll ask the commission members plus our administrator and clerk to join me there. Hold on just 1 second while I do this. Henry, yes?
and town
Steve,
council.
yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Can we invite Mark to this discussion or can we not? Mark Resnick.
Roger, is it all right to have the town planner attend this session?
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Yes, other town staff and officials, or at least town staff, can be invited to executive session without breaking either the purpose of the executive session or the attorney-client privilege for matters discussed therein.
All right, I think I have David, Eva, Gordon, Henry, Jeff, Kristen, Mark, Olga, Roger, and Sari. So let me open that and you should see an invitation to join.
Thank you.
Thanks for standing by.
You're muted, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone for indulging us for that executive session. We're happy to be back. We now take up a notice of intent for 208 Summer Street, map 22, lot 22, DEP file 39. Sorry, it's very dim light, 0919, which is construction of a single-family home by Timothy Huff. This is a continuation. Who is here this evening representing this project?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. My name's Tom Sachs. I'm an engineer with Hancock Associates.
Welcome, Tom.
If you don't mind, can I share my screen?
Yep, we should be good to go
Right.
now.
Let's see. Share. Two. All right, perfect. Can you see my screen?
Mhm.
All right. All right, so alongside me tonight is my associate, Caitlin White. She's one of our wetland scientists. She will be breaking down these planting plans and some of the comments that you guys had from our last meeting. So since we last met, we had revised our permit site plan. Improvements include, here we have permeable paver parking court. So a reduction in impervious area. We reduced the driveway area and we tightened up the radius to be the minimum of 50 feet. We removed the parking court that was within the 100-foot buffer, and we pulled the driveway a little bit more out of the 200-foot vernal pool buffer. Other improvements, we pulled the house west out of the vernal pool buffer by 10 feet. So originally we had a distance from the retaining wall to the vernal pool of 159 feet. We're looking at 169 feet now. So with that shift, we pulled the retaining walls and the backyard got a little bit smaller, but we're trying to separate ourselves a little bit more from the vernal pool. Other alterations, other improvements is the resource areas. You can see this crosshatch and the plantings that we're proposing. We'll get into a little bit more, but we do have a native planting plan for the restoration area. It's about 10,200 square feet along that property line. So we issued our plan last week and we did receive some comments from the commission. These comments included just a idea of the backyard area. So we have a proposed lawn area. It's going to go across our 88 contour into the backyard area here. So it's about 1,200 square feet. It's not the biggest backyard, but it does allow a flat area. That's why we have this retaining wall. Other comments were retaining wall details and height confirmation. So for this backyard retaining wall, we are looking at about 6 feet in height at the high point. And we had some comments regarding the retaining walls near the parking court. With the 74 spot grade here, our top of wall is about 80, so we have a 6-foot wall at this location. Other spot is on the inside of the parking court. We have about a 9-foot wall. The 83-foot contour goes across the steps here. Other comments from the commission include an upland native planting plan. So we did have some concerns during our site walk of the cleared areas. So we did add this bubbled area to include upland plantings, which we will go over in a little bit. This is about 12,100 square feet. And we do have this area here. So we'll go over that in a little bit. Other requests from the commission were to show our ledge outcrops. We removed the hatch over the proposed dwelling. We do not have any ledge outcrops where the proposed dwelling is currently. With the original location, probably be a little bit easier. We do have the original location here. We do have a ledge outcrop off this edge, but we do not have any in the current location. And that doesn't mean there isn't ledge there. We just didn't pick it up in our survey, and it could be underneath the surface. And then our last comment from the commission was to look at alternatives outside the vernal pool buffer. The house location has been dictated by the driveway design. The driveway design comes from the fire department driveway design requirements. So it's a 15% maximum slope up the driveway with a minimum 50-foot radius. So what we did was we took into account the 50-foot radius to bend the driveway in as far away from the buffer as we could. Looking at if we could shift the house, even if we did reduce the elevation of the house, the design criteria for the driveway that the fire department gives us does not allow us to reach the finished grade. We do need more of the distance, and that's why we chose this area. Adhering to these standards just ensures that we can get a fire truck into the property, and it's just a matter of public safety. And as you can see that the old driveway, we do have the driveway bend here. It does not adhere to the latest driveway standards. That would be something we'd have to look at if we had to go back to that. And for now, I will pass the torch to Caitlin and let her discuss more of the planting plans and further comments from the commission last week.
Tom, would you entertain questions about what you just said before we
Yep.
switch gears to landscaping?
Yep, that's
Thank
fine.
you. Are there questions or comments about what Tom Sachs has just presented? Commissioners?
Sorry, I have a question, but I'm not sure the proper procedure. I'm MacDougall,
We're
the
gonna-
abutting neighbor.
Yeah, thank you for holding on to that. We're going to hear from commissioners first and then questions from the public. So, thank you. Anyone on the commission have a question? I have a general one, which is you told us that the previous siting of the house was not feasible because of ledge you found subsurface. Right?
They have encountered ledge on site, but the bigger issue is the feasibility of the driveway matching the driveway standards. So we can't get the driveway to work, and if we can't get the driveway to work, we can't meet the fire department requirements.
Got it. But in what way does the driveway's location dictate the house's location? Please explain.
Well, the driveway location, we need a certain length to get to the finished floor elevation of the house. So if we say we put the house right in the middle of the lot here, then we still need to work up the driveway requirements. And it would have to be a 50-foot radius into there. And we just can't make up that distance. It's too steep. We need the length of the driveway to give us
Right.
that elevation.
And the
It's just
underlying
the steepness of the
cause
slope.
is the steepness of the location.
Yeah. That's
Were
why
you
we pulled it
unaware-
up.
Were you unaware of the steepness when you first proposed?
I'm not familiar with the original design. I just know that the driveway standards have changed since that design, so we would have to change it eventually if we had to go back to the old design.
Understood. There are a number of properties in Manchester with very, very steep slopes in front of the house, and I
Mhm.
believe most of them have parking at the lower elevation and walkways to get to the house. I understand that it's much less convenient, but sometimes those things are dictated by the slope and the condition of wetlands. And in this case, you seem to be letting the slope and the desire to have a house of a certain size with a certain amount of driveway and parking access dictate that and overrule the
Yeah.
impact on the wetlands.
Steve, I guess that's related to my question, if I can ask as
Yeah.
well. I understand what the argument here is about needing a certain length to get the elevation, but it seems like that's dictated by the desire to have the house at a certain elevation. If the house were at a different elevation on the site, like why does it need to be at this height, I guess is my question. Is it a preference, or could it be sited somewhere in the middle of the property or lower down with a different design, like you suggested, Steve, with a entrance underneath or something like that?
So if we did want to pull the house down towards the shared driveway, we would still
Mhm.
have to make up that distance. And just using the driveway 15% slope, 50-foot radius to get the maximum elevation to where that house would be. It's just you can't make up that distance. The slope's too steep.
It just seems like there is a steep slope there. So if the house were sited on the side of the slope, wouldn't and if the driveway were lower down, wouldn't the distance needed be much, much less that you'd need for the height?
It would be, yes. So you could come in here and you would say you only need 52 feet to get to this point, but you'd still come across here and you're looking at, here's 70. So just trying to get relative to matching grades, you still have to make up 20 feet over this radius.
And you don't think you could bring the driveway from the other side and the way
Well,
you
we
had
have-
originally planned?
We
What was
have
the
the
original
septic
plan?
already approved. We could pull it up this direction, but the house would still be at the top of the hill. You'd still need that distance to make up the existing contours.
Why does the house have to be at the top of the hill? I guess that's what I'm trying to understand.
Because so over the course of the 15% slope, we make up those elevations. So
I feel like we're having a circular conversation. You're
Yeah.
telling me the house needs to be at the top of the hill and therefore the driveway needs to be a certain slope.
Yeah, Gordon, if I
Yeah,
But
can,
I'm trying to find out, why does the house need to be at the top of the hill?
Gordon,
because
if I can intrude, it's simply
Okay,
because
sure,
the
sure.
design requirement, obviously dictated by somebody other than the commission, is that the
Okay.
driveway terminate in a garage in the dwelling. If that were relaxed, that constraint, then I think all
Yeah.
kinds of other options would be available. But if that's the primary design constraint, then the wetlands have to suffer and the thing has to be at the top of the hill. And, Hancock has to work overtime to figure out how to get all these pieces to glue together correctly.
that's fair. Yep.
I do not see why we should put up with a radical shift of the location of the dwelling from the previous order of conditions that intrudes into the buffer zone for a vernal pool. It does not make sense to me. It's dictated by a convenience choice, an understandable convenience choice, but the site does not permit that choice, that design parameter, plus respecting the wetlands impact. And as far as this commission is concerned, the wetlands impact is paramount.
I do agree with you that site does hurt the choice of the driveway coming up the slope. But we have a hand raised. It is something that if we had to go back to the old design, it still would have the same impact on the hillside. It would take out the hillside, which it has been approved. It would be a retaining wall. I know it's not exactly within the buffer.
Wouldn't be jurisdictional, would it, Tom?
It wouldn't be jurisdictional, but you'd have a 15, 20-foot retaining wall right up against the buffer.
Not our issue. Our issue is the protection of the wetlands. This site has not, the elevations and grades on this site have not changed for millennia. They were
Mhm.
well known before you came in with the initial NOI and we issued an order of conditions, and they are well known today. That's why I'm inclined to dig in my heels. I don't know about the rest of the commission, but this seems to me an unnecessary and detrimental change in design from the original order of conditions, which is made necessary only by an architectural decision that's about the convenience of the future owners of the dwelling, which is nice, but this is not a site that accommodates all of the convenience of the dwelling and the occupants.
Mhm.
Henry, you had a comment. May I ask?
Yeah, just a quick question, Tom. And I'm sure there's an easy answer. Let's just assume that north is up and south
Yes,
is
yep.
down, but there's I can't see the compass.
Yeah, you're correct.
Is there any reason the driveway can't enter the home from the west instead of the south? I know that's a lot to get through to the west, but
So you're saying come up through here?
no, saying same driveway.
Yeah.
And then take a left a little bit sooner than you would to come around that like
Go
Big
around the
Ten.
septic.
No, sorry. So am I interpreting the dark gray as the driveway, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so it comes up into the south facing portion of the house, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't that driveway, sorry, the garage structure have a west facing side?
This is west. So so you could try to enter here, but you'd run into the same issue of making up that elevation.
Yes, I see, but not the radius. You would eliminate your radius.
You would have to have a minimum of a 50-foot radius to get
Right.
that 15% slope. If we tried to eliminate the radius, you'd just be driving straight up a hill and you would exceed the 15% slope to get that elevation.
But, hi, this is Sari. If you were to come in something resembling the footprint of the previous driveway design from the north, you're going along the contours rather than across them. And I guess I would like to see an alternative that shows that. And as Steve says, shows a design that that is modified based on the realities of the site and the wetlands issues there.
We could look into that. And so you're saying like a driveway entering through here and come across the front,
Yeah, because you've been talking about the
which is
steep
the
slope,
original.
and that helps. I mean, obviously, there are many challenges as you've described, but that at least provides something that could avoid the steep slope issue and might enable the architects to come up with a layout that meets our requirements for minimizing wetlands impact.
Yep. So that was that driveway that we originally had was going across there. So we would just have to update to the most recent fire department
Yes,
requirements.
yes, you would.
Yeah. That's a interesting suggestion, Sari. Thank you for making it. I'd love to see that as well. And it strikes me that the driveway itself does not need to make a sharp turn at any point. Presuming that fire vehicles requirements are that the driveway be straight enough and wide enough to the point where they can access the building. If the occupants then had to make, a K turn to get into their driveway, well, that's part of what the problem is of the site. But it wouldn't impede firefighting. Or am I?
So they
might
do
be up
require the turnaround at the end of the driveway. It's typically a 25-foot radius that needs to fit within this turnaround space.
Mhm.
So they do need room to turn around at the end of the driveway.
Right, but they don't need to. They could come straight into that turnaround area, given the design Sari is suggesting.
They could
Right.
come.
Yeah, following the contour straight into that
Mhm.
or a slightly modified area.
Clearly, there are a number of technical issues to address with, this is a tight site, a complex site. And I'm not saying it would be easy to come up with this alternative design, but I think it might meet the concerns that Steve has raised about the wetlands impact on the site.
So we would love to see that, and I can't leave the subject without giving you some props for addressing the question of revegetating the steep slope. It is non-jurisdictional, but it is conspicuously denuded at this point, and I appreciate your efforts on that. And in fact, I guess I'd like to hear what your ideas are, although that may be mooted by the question we raise about reconfiguration.
Okay.
It-
Caitlin, if you were available.
Okay, before you go to Caitlin, just one last question.
Yep.
In this proposed configuration, tonight's proposed configuration, not the one that Sheree is talking about. How much of the impermeable area is inside the 200-foot buffer to the vernal pool?
So impervious area inside the 200 foot is about 1,400 square feet.
Okay.
And within the 100, I have 1,200.
Was your question about pervious or impervious, Jeff?
Pervious. No,
Oh.
impervious, impervious.
Impervious.
That's what I heard.
So the half of the garage entry and
Yep.
the east side of the building that goes up about halfway.
Retaining walls and steps.
Yep.
And a
Yep.
little bit of driveway.
And the retaining walls and steps, okay.
And then we have, for pervious area, we have 1,260 of impervious pavers. So that's all of our driveway, parking court, and these areas here.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Now I'm going to allow some public comment, as I heard Mr. McDougall earlier. Would you like to identify yourself and speak up, please?
Yes, hi, my name is Philip McDougall. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Loud and
thank
clear.
you.
Thank you.
Well, first, thank you very, very much for letting me jump in. I'm not sure if you know, but my father recently passed a couple of days ago, Gordon McDougall, and my intent is to be purchasing the property. So I came back and this is all brand new to me. He's been ill for about a year. So I'm seeing this for the first time, including the construction that's taken place behind us with all the trees gone. My questions were in no particular order, and I apologize in advance. Please stop me. But my biggest question was, I see that there is a proposed pool or pond right at the entry, right next to our driveway. That was one question, and a potential concern about what that is and if all that water is coming down somehow ending up there right next to our house. Is it okay just to say three things? I'm not sure the proper procedure.
Go ahead. No, name them all.
Okay, the second one was the retaining wall. My understanding, and I have pictures, is that there was a row of trees all the way down from our driveway to the very end, and they're excessive 3 feet wide, and they're all cut down right on the property line or within a foot or two. And I'm just extremely disappointed that they were all cut. The third thing would be, and you've already talked about it, was the potential. I am 1000% about improving and having a great neighbor up there. I'm sure it will be beautiful. My concern is the wetland right next to us, and how the driveway is on that wetland is, I'm really surprised because of how that is. But the current driveway being so close to the property line, and then what you're talking about for a variety of other more important issues, is it looping around on the north side. But my level of concern is the pond. It is the trees that have all cut and any potential more being cut that are over 3 feet wide. And then also just the runoff for the water. I'm really concerned about that.
Thank you. Understood.
Thank you for your time.
Tom, you don't have to
Yep.
respond at this point,
No,
but
I'd
if
like
you
to.
want to, go ahead.
Yep. So for your first question, this was addressed in the last NOI approval. This is a infiltration basin, so it collects all the runoff from the shared driveway here. It's only a couple feet deep. It's kind of it's a little bit more of an indent in the ground. It's to promote infiltration and slow down peak rates. So really nothing crazy there. It's not like it's going to be a huge pond. It's just going to be a little collection area for the end of the driveway. We don't want anything going out into the streets.
But when all the water that's coming down from the current drawing, is that all being directed into that holding area? So that's all going to
No.
come down through the drive? No?
No, this is its own system, so it won't affect that. So naturally water is going to run down the hill and into the wetland below. This is, we are pitching water at 2% across slope the driveway, and it's basically just a infiltration trench to catch water, so it goes away from your property.
Yeah, it's gonna go down there, but once it hits the bottom, is it being directed into this holding pond?
No, it's just going to run off into the wetland. You're pitching your contours this way.
And then the mosquitoes and all that that goes with the holding pond there is a concern.
It's about a foot deep, and it's typically it's going to be dry. It's not going to hold water. It's to promote infiltration. You have better soils in this area, so
You know, I've lived here. I'm 60 years old. I lived here my whole life except the last 10, and that water goes way up in the wetlands, all the way up to the stone wall. So I'm not sure how an extra 20 feet is not going to be impacted. I mean, the wetland is up to the stone wall in the wintertime and in the spring. I've lived it for
Okay.
45 years.
I don't want this to turn into a debate. Are there other
Okay.
answers? Tom, you want to
we
give about the
covered
tree cutting?
the tree cutting was the client's it was an incident with the client. Someone cut a tree they weren't supposed to. I know there was a heritage tree at the end of the driveway that shouldn't have been cut. We are proposing on our site a bunch of restoration. We're looking to plant more trees and promote. He wants a vegetative barrier between your property and his. So we're going to promote everything that's been cut down. That's a goal of ours. We
All
have a
right.
whole we have a whole area here that we're trying to promote vegetation.
Well, just for the record, there was more than one tree cut down. I have pictures of all the trees that were at least 3 feet wide from the end of my driveway all the way up to the north part. Three big trees that were cut down. And we went out there and asked them not to, and we were told it was approved.
Yeah, I know the one heritage tree that was cut, but I'm not familiar with the rest of them.
So I mean
Nor are we.
that's a
Yeah, if you, Mr. McDougall, if you'd like to provide that evidence to the conservation administrator, Kristen Farr. She has an office in Seaside One and an email address on the website. We'd be happy to look at them.
I appreciate that. So is the holding pond concept been finalized and approved,
Yes.
It's an infiltration
or infiltration?
area,
It-
which means it's meant not to hold water. It's meant to transmit water down to subsurface. If it functions according to its design, it should not be very wet at any point.
Okay.
May I add something here?
Caitlin,
Phil,
is there-
would you mind forwarding that information about the trees to the town administrator's office? I've tried to get them to respond to that heritage tree being taken down, but I haven't been able to get any traction on it. So if a citizen brings it to their attention, maybe we get a better answer.
Yeah, I just clarity. I apologize. I don't know what that means. Does that go to a particular person or department or just anyone?
Yep,
in town?
the town administrator,
Okay,
Greg Fetterspiel.
Rick Fetterstrom.
Greg.
Greg, Greg. Greg.
Oh, thank you. All right,
And
thank
Gordon,
you.
your hand is up.
Just sort of based on the neighbor's question there, I was curious, and this may be more of a planning board question, but are there any requirements that would limit how close you could go to the property edge with the driveway?
There's a 5-foot offset. We have it 6 feet off.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the public? Good, I'm
No,
hearing
thank you for your
none.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. I think a continuation is in order. If Tom, you're in agreement, Caitlin.
Yep.
So I'll move that we continue this matter to our next meeting, October 15. Correct? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Henry?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Gordon?
Hi.
David?
Aye.
Olga?
Hi.
Sari?
Aye.
And the chair is an aye. I'll make that unanimous. Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We move next to request for determination applicability. And the matter here is a request for a letter permit from 39 Coolidge Point, map 3, lot 27, local number 2024.
Steve, before that,
9.
there's 10 Central Street?
There is, huh? Okay, I don't see it on my agenda.
I think that's the letterhead address for the town hall.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm
My gosh,
It
you're
got me,
right.
it got me too.
Okay.
Good
And
catch.
I think it's an RDA, not a letter
Yeah.
permit.
It's not an RDA at the moment. This is construction of an in-ground swimming pool with associated
Okay.
pool deck and landscape improvements, drainage, etc. From David and
Martha.
Martha Swift, CDA.
Yes.
And it's also continued. Bob, are you here this evening?
I'm here, yes, and I'll share my screen here
Please.
and bring up the site plan. We had mostly out for a site walk on the 21st, and you recall we described the project at the September 17th meeting. So there was no real requests for plan revisions at the meeting, so we haven't really done anything to the plan. But the gist of it is, we have a pool with a pool deck, mostly located outside the buffer zone. There's the pool itself is 16 by 40, which I think it's around 800 or 850 square feet, and we have a pool deck that's around 1,800 square feet. It would be a bluestone pool deck, and we've provided some stormwater management. We've got a dry well just to the east of the pool deck with a slot drain to pick up the runoff from the pool deck and carry it over there. Pool equipment would be on the north side of the shed, so further away from the wetland resources here. The closest wetland resource is 78 feet away. It's a coastal bank, and we took a walk down there and we saw the Swifts. They had a couple of notice of intents within the last few years to make some coastal bank improvements, and I think they were all in very good condition. They did a nice job getting rid of some invasives and putting a nice diverse landscaping in that area, and I think they've demonstrated a good ability to carry out work without threatening wetland resources. We did file this as an RDA instead of a notice of intent because of the limited work in the jurisdictional area. You can see, about half of the pool deck, and I think one tree comes down in jurisdiction. All of the work could be encircled with erosion controls. All of the access comes in from outside of jurisdiction from the north. So there really, I think, is no significant threat to wetland resources posed by the project. The Swifts have a construction manager that sort of oversees all of this type of work. The pool itself is a fiberglass product that's dropped in off a truck and doesn't require an especially deep excavation. It's only a 4-foot deep pool. There is a little bit of a landscaping wall on the south side of the pool deck. It's about 18 inches tall at the maximum, and the overall length is around 40 feet. So I think an RDA is appropriate for this one. I think it's a limited scope project and no significant threat to wetland resources, and I hope you'll agree.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the commission? Was everyone able to?
So that tree is going to be removed, is that correct?
There's 4 trees to be removed. One of them is in jurisdiction. This is a 16-inch, I think it was a linden, but
Is there some mitigation for that or some?
we actually a rather extensive planting plan. I didn't show it, but I'll scroll down and I think we can get to it. But Tom McMullen, the landscape architect who has done really all of the work at the Swift property, has got we're sort of rotated a little bit, but he's got a number of screening, planting beds and arborvitaes and all that sort of stuff going in between the pool and the neighboring property line, and some improvements around the pool on the Swift property as well. So.
But no new trees to replace the 4 that are coming out.
I think again, there's some arborvitae trees, but you know, whether that's a shrub or a tree, I guess is
Yeah, that's a shrub
right. Okay, well,
in my book.
all right.
So I'd probably like to see some trees
I agree.
if possible.
I think we can probably talk to Mr. McMullen about adding some trees, probably along the property line. You can see there's some other small trees up in this area already, so there's a little bit of space in here for some additional trees. And I think after these 2 trees come down, perhaps we could plant some trees a little further away from the gravel path to make sure that the vehicles can get in the future. But I think we can accommodate that.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Bob, where is the very large, mature, healthy oak that's coming out?
It's right above the B in 100-foot buffer near where that where my icon is there. And that's it turned out to, I checked our survey when I got back. It's a 30-inch oak.
Okay. And that obviously can't remain, given the plan. So that comes out, the linden that's a bit smaller comes out, and then several off to the side.
Two
Correct.
trees off to the side, and they're sort of in the way of construction, so that's the need to get rid of those 2.
Yeah, I agree with Henry. I'd like to see at least a 1-for-1 kind of replacement with 4 new trees
Okay.
on site.
Yes, agreed with that. Any other comments, questions?
Steve, I have a question for you or the other commissioners. With a large impervious surface like this with the bluestone, is that in effect offset by the fact that there's a drain collecting it and routing it to a retention basin, or does it still sort of count as impervious surface? If you're collecting all the runoff and directing it into the ground, is that essentially making it pervious with that drain?
No, it's still impervious.
It's still impervious. Okay.
There is, however, an exception in RDA land, I believe, for conversion of existing lawn to pool or attendant patios.
Okay.
So it seems to me that would cover under an RDA the construction of the pool deck, but not necessarily, and not at all the retaining wall or the drainage structure. So that's really what's of concern to me. And I guess I'm already on record with a memo circulated to you folks in the last 6 months, having researched the DEP's take on the dividing line between RDAs and NOIs, that this is clearly on the NOI side because of scale and scope, potential for temporary and permanent impact. Doesn't mean the project doesn't go ahead. It just means that we generally would like to take a closer look at it and be more deliberate about conditions. That said, you know, I know our own boundary in Manchester between RDAs and NOIs moves around a bit, and I'd like to hear other commissioners comment on whether they want to stick with what I think is our settled practice or whether they'd like to make a significant exception for this project.
Well, my reaction is that our standard practice, which is with something of this scale and scope, to go with an NOI is something I would support.
And that, and I expressed that also.
Okay. Any
Sounds
others?
reasonable. It sounds reasonable to me as well.
All right. Well, any comment from the public on this 39 Coolidge Point? I'm hearing none. So is the commission ready to vote on the RDA application?
Steve, before we vote, one last question about the tree that's in the middle of the patio that was described as a 30-inch diameter tree. That tree may be subject to the town tree policy as a heritage tree. And I think that needs to be addressed by the property owner through the Board of Selectmen's office.
And that would be just because of its
Because of its diameter.
circumference and diameter, yeah.
Jeff,
So
is
the
there a
tree
doubt
policy
about,
Starts
do you
at
have a doubt
32
about-
inches.
yeah, I was gonna ask you, do you have a doubt about the measurement? Or because the policy was 32?
The policy is 32.
We looked it up when we were at the site. It was greater than 30. We can,
I checked it as well when I got back. Sorry
okay.
about this
you did
noise
look-
there.
And the diameter of the tree, excuse me, the diameter of the tree is 30.
Right.
Okay. That's really sad to see that go, but all right, thank you.
Yeah. It's rare that we find a specimen that well placed and well cared for that has to go, but it needed another 15 years to get that extra 2 inches, evidently.
Didn't take me 15 years to get a few extra inches.
I know, me neither. And you know, under the existing town tree policy, the remedy wouldn't be to prohibit the pool. It probably would be exactly what we suggested here, which is some
Mitigation.
replication,
Yeah.
some new plantings.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll move that we issue a positive determination on this and recommend an NOI. Is there a second?
Second,
Thank you. All in favor? Jeff?
Aye.
Olga?
aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
Henry?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Sari?
Aye.
And I'll be an aye as well. Thank you, Bob.
Well, thank you all very much and have a good
Sorry.
evening.
Sorry
Thank
to
you.
disappoint. That concludes our public hearing. Thank you to those who participated. Now we move on to new and old and other business. There are a couple of things I want to raise and then probably some others Kristen has in mind. Now, the first is that Ken King has finished or almost finished his work restoring the kiosk on Upper School Street at the Wilderness Conservation Area. And in the process has found himself working considerably more hours than originally budgeted. And renting equipment for an extra day because of the rain that remarkably enough fell during his work. So I'd like to move that we authorize up to an additional $250 from the Conservation Fund to offset the cost of his extra effort. I will also ask MECT if they're willing to match that, depending on an invoice from Ken for the extra hours.
I think they've expressed that they would too.
Okay, that's nice to know.
So I would like to second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Then all in favor? Sari?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Henry?
Aye.
Gordon?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
Olga, you probably were going to do this anyway, but I'll recommend you
I'll
recuse.
recuse.
Thank
Yes.
you. And the chair is an aye, so it's 6 in favor and 1 recusal.
So
Thank
as
you.
far as the tree, it looks like it's gone to, Tom Henderson has looked at it. And it looks like the town is going to be paying for whatever they do to the tree once they decide what they're doing.
Good.
So
Thank you.
stay tuned, but it looks like they've taken it on.
Great.
There is a budget for it.
Yes. There is it in the town.
Yep,
Good. Well, that job well done by Ken. We can all be grateful. And
well, his two
Item-
people, the younger people that were going to help him just didn't materialize, so he's had to do
yeah,
it.
he said He said his prime helper experienced a midlife crisis unexpectedly.
My compliments just to Ken's job. I've jogged by there a couple of times and I've seen him on the ground working at the low level of that project. And I know it wasn't easy to reach certain spots on that difficult task. So,
But he loves that kiosk. So
Yeah, he does love
whatever
it.
hardship he's going through, he loves it. So
Next item, Steve.
Next item is beavers again. In a new location, although it'll be familiar to people who've been around a long time. About 10 years ago or so, we found that Maple Swamp, which is on the other end of the Wilderness Conservation Area alongside Pine Street, was rising. Its level reached almost the level of Pine Street, and there was serious concern it would flood the street. Turned out the beavers had built quite an ambitious dam structure at the outlet for Maple Swamp, the other side of it on a trail called Dug Hill Trail. And we hired Beaver Solutions back then to come and put in a deceiver and level out the pond, which they have done, and the deceiver is still there. You can see the photos in the Dropbox folder. And it appears to be functioning because the marsh has stayed low and the Beaver's dam is still intact, although it's completely covered with vegetation now. However, beavers being who they are, they built another structure slightly downstream from this one, and over the course of the spring, it had resulted in the flooding of the stream crossing that MECT had constructed for that part of the trail, really just a boardwalk, very low to the ground. So MECT would like to rebuild that. I took a walk out there, would invite any of you to come. I'll be happy to lead you out there if you want. It's right in the area known as Ann's Woods. Very pretty area, but it's also kind of a beaver paradise, meaning there are probably hundreds of tree stumps taken down by beavers right around there, including some very new ones and some very statuesque structures where they've taken out 99% of the trunk, but the tree hasn't fallen yet. So it's clear they're very active right there. The consequence of having a lot of beavers there is it doesn't make sense to rebuild in the existing location. It's too low lying, prone to flood. The beavers will probably make it flood in various ways. But there is an even older crossing where the banks are steep, just slightly upstream, maybe 25 feet. And that seemed to Patrice Murphy and me a more logical place to build a crossing that would last. And their question is, can they do this with a letter permit? Should they file an RDA or an NOI? And I said, I'm kind of on the fence in between a letter permit and an RDA because there is a crossing disused. You can still see it at the location they want to rebuild. They just want to put it up much higher on the steep banks on each side and make the footings a little more durable.
Well,
So
I
obviously-
think my reaction, Steve, is that an RDA is better than a letter permit. I mean, if you're talking footings and you're talking, a stream crossing, I think we want to have enough information to be able to make a decision. So I would vote for an RDA.
And Gordon, was that your take?
Yeah, I would agree. I was going to make a joke that, are we sure these are beavers and not moles? Because it feels like we're doing whack-a-mole all over town. There's more and more beaver problems everywhere, but
No, you have no idea. If you go downstream, it's marked as an intermittent stream connecting Maple Swamp with the next swamp down, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
But if you go downstream to where there's an old culvert and they must have dragged wood from the woodlots out, and maybe also granite from some of the little quarries they dug out there. Beavers have created 2 dams just upstream of that culvert, and one of them is brand new, probably from this spring. So it's a very healthy set of colonies, probably reproducing and spreading out, sharing the wealth, as it were, and generally, keeping the smaller chunks of marsh quite healthy.
Steve, did we recently approved like a comprehensive study by Beaver Solutions?
Yeah, Henry, that was, we had in mind for the other side of the wilderness conservation area, so-called Cedar Swamp,
Yep.
where there is something similar going on. There's several generations or families or colonies of beavers building in different locations. They seem to be improving the swamp, but in some cases they may be threatening that cabin that belongs to Mr. Supat.
Right.
So we
Well, I'd
wanted
love
to get,
find a way, and Gordon kind of referred to this, that we could get a, maybe even a townwide study if that's what it needs. So this doesn't come up with the
Right.
frequency that it's come up for us. I
Yeah.
appreciate that it is a real problem.
well, I myself would like to see a new border commission in Manchester called the Beaver Control Board or something else that doesn't make everybody grin and giggle. But you're right, it's a sufficiently recurrent problem, and it's, given our current approach, it's probably gonna get worse, not better.
And a board like that should include Board of Health and DPW representation,
Yep,
because
good idea.
we're all in it.
Well, as you know, the
I-
town is on a crusade to reduce the number of boards and
Oh,
commissions, simplify
geez.
government, streamline things, so it'll probably end up being something that Kristen and Mark have to look after.
So there, I think I do have a proposal from Beaver Solutions for the wilderness conservation area. I will dig it up and put it in the Dropbox for next meeting, and we can at least take a look at that, maybe as an example of targeted areas for
Yep.
assessment.
Good.
Yeah, I don't think there's any long-term threat to anybody's property in the Dug Hill Trail situation. There's just a need for a new crossing. MECT owns all of that land, both sides of the stream and upstream and downstream. So, and they're, nobody's living on it or trying to utilize it other than for hiking and mountain biking.
Do we need to vote on the RDA recommendation?
No, I think we need to just wait for an appropriate filing, don't you?
Great. Next item.
Next item I have is just to follow up on 68 Pine Street, as long as we're talking about stream crossings. They built one, we told them to take it down. Is it down?
Not that I know of yet, but we should have followed up with Bob Griffin when he was online here, but I will try to get to him tomorrow.
Please do.
Yep, be good to get that. I think they may have sold the property, in which case they may be inclined now to take it down, but if they haven't passed papers
They
yet.
sold the property. They would
Property
have,
has been sold.
Yeah.
they have to come in and get something from me, saying that the site is in good order, and it's not. So I had warned
Kristen-
Bob about
Kristen,
that.
is the,
What?
sorry, is the paperwork in the registry of deeds regarding
The recorded order of conditions, it should be, yeah.
guess I'm
That's something to
wondering
check
if it's
on, but
actually there or if it's falling through the cracks or something.
I'll look to see if it's there. I'm pretty sure it is, but yeah, that's not something that a new buyer would want to get us as a prize.
That's all I have, but go ahead, Jeff.
I don't want to get into the politics of that. I think it's the responsibility of the realtor in their due diligence to say that there's an outstanding order of conditions on this property.
It is, but let's make sure that we do everything we need to do to.
Absolutely.
get ourselves on solid ground.
Understood. Understood.
Speaking of non-recurring phenomena, I wouldn't count on the realtor disclosing anything like that.
Right.
All right, other items from new, old, other business? Open space, anything from open space, filing fees, Causeway Brook cleanup? Stop me anywhere along here.
The Causeway Brook cleanup, I'll have some new information about that later on. It looks as though because of the lack of interest on the part of the school, And the other players, we may be canceling that project. But I will update you when we have some clear direction.
It's a shame because it's funded by CPC.
Yeah, but there are other things that need funding from CPC. And by the way, tomorrow, CPC is going to talk further about the Greenbelt proposal for land acquisition. We talked about it at the last meeting and we took a straw vote and people were supportive, but Steve and/or Olga and I are going to be on the Zoom call tomorrow to try to make sure that the CPC votes in favor of that.
It's
That's part
Thursday,
of-
right, Turi? Or
I'm
tomorrow?
sorry,
Thursday.
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 Yep.
Yep.
And one of the issues is because of the timing, as Chris pointed out, this would require going to the November town meeting. So it's kind of out of sequence for a normal CPC process. What Chris pointed out, and I did, and others on the CPC, land acquisitions don't always wait for the proper sequence. And so we're going to need to proceed if we want to support this. So we'll be there at the meeting Thursday, not tomorrow, to try to make that happen.
Thanks, Gordon.
Just while we were talking, I looked on the Essex Registry of Deeds, and I just wanted to update you that for 68 Pine Street, I believe the order of conditions is there, at least the certificate. Oh, wait, no, there's a certificate of compliance.
Not on this order.
Oh, wait. All right, never mind. The property sold as of today. The deed was passed. But it says 68 Pine Street and the type is COMPLI from March. Oh, that was the March certificate of compliance. So there is the recent one is not there, I don't believe.
Yeah. Well, that's, I believe, I mean, I'm not a conveyancing lawyer, but you're not supposed to be able to consummate that transaction without closing out existing orders of condition. But apparently,
Yeah, I guess
that's
I'm just saying if it's not in
ignored
the
in-
registry of deeds, I don't know
yeah,
what their
ignored in
process
this
is
case.
to clear all that.
Okay, anything else
But
under
I think-
new business? Any? Go ahead.
Well, I guess my question would just be, are we certain that all of our orders of condition are making it into the registry of deeds? What's the process that they go from our office into the Salem Deeds Registry?
It's up to the
They go
applicant.
from our office to the applicant, who is then responsible
They're
for
responsible for,
recording them.
okay, okay.
We filed them
Thank
with DEP, which makes them
Okay.
official. Then
Okay.
they have to file them so that they run with the deed. So
Great.
what unfortunately sometimes happens is no one follows up on the applicant's filing, and then the deed appears to be clean and you can pass papers
Okay.
without any
Yeah,
concern,
and then we're here. Okay,
Steve,
thank you.
which is probably what happened here.
Steve, isn't this process a little bit like putting the fox in charge of the hen house?
Yeah,
Seems like
exactly.
it.
The way it's done,
Yeah.
though.
Yeah, it's
And
the
is
fox in
that-
charge of the hen house and a bunch of the fox's assistants and cheerleaders surrounding the hen house so no one can see what's going on. It's
Is there
It's-
anything legally preventing us from asking for the filing fee when they submit their application and then just filing it? That's what, like, if I go to buy a house, I have to pay for all the filing and everything like that, and
The-
it
the
just
onus
I
is
happens.
don't
on
think we
them,
can
it's
do
not
that
on
unless we
us.
have a fiduciary relationship with them, like, unless we have power of attorney or something else.
Yeah.
I think the notion of whether we should try to change the process is an interesting one and we could pursue it. Meanwhile, I think on this particular property, we should make
There's some water
sure
over there.
that the buyer is aware of the order of conditions
Yeah.
and that we can proceed to get that stream crossing out of there.
Well, in this case, I believe the realtor is the same as the builder, so the applicant is actually the realtor. If I
Mhm.
read the sign right.
So
he's,
he wouldn't be one
registered.
to tell that there's a problem with it. He just
Then-
wants to
Yeah, so-
offload the problem to the new person.
All
Well,
right, well, anyway, Kristen, when you contact Bob Griffin, would you also contact Mr. Becko, or however you say his name,
Mhm.
to inquire about whether the order of conditions has been properly filed with the registry?
Well, and I think I'll give a call to the purchasing person or who their attorney is to give them the awareness that this is
If you
not in
can, yes.
compliance.
Yep. Good.
Because they should know.
They
Yeah.
should know, and their name is now matter of public record in the
Right,
in the
right.
deed
Right.
there. So
Yeah, unless it's a trust or an LLC, in which case.
there's a
you're gonna
person's
have to
name
do more.
anyway, but
Good. Wonderful.
Okay.
Now, anything else under new business?
Just
Going
in,
once, going twice?
just in terms of, last week ago Saturday, a group of, volunteers from MECT and, trail stewards and, commission members, participated in clearing the organic debris that had been built up around the boardwalk going across Cedar Swamp, and
Good.
pulled it out to the road, and a pile that was 3 to 4 cubic feet of, cubic yards of material was moved out there. The last I heard earlier, last Friday, from Patrice, was that the material had not been picked up by DPW yet, and I put in a notice to Chuck
It
to,
was picked up today.
beautiful. Beautiful.
Okay.
Quite a big piece of work done on a very rainy, muddy day in an awful environment by hand, I have to say. You know, adults dragging muddy tarps full of debris down the boardwalk. Good work.
And
Oh, thank you.
people actually walking down the boardwalk and saying, "Oh, can I come through?" Was not convenient.
I
Gordon, you
have a
had
couple
something else?
things.
Okay, go ahead, Kristen.
I did work on some of the filing fees today, working on that chart a little bit, adding a couple more towns and rearranging a few things. So that's a work in progress, but there's a little bit of movement on it. Just wanted to give you that update.
Great.
Second thing is November 5th is scheduled, is our first November meeting, and we can't have that because of the election. So do you want to skip it, change it? How do you feel?
Well, I think it would be prudent to just reschedule it because we don't, I mean, if the,
We have 5 Tuesdays in this month,
Yeah, we could move it up a week to
the 29th.
29th of October
Okay,
and maintain some spacing. I don't like having back-to-back meetings in 2 weeks.
so you want to do the 29th instead?
Yeah, I don't think that
Okay.
requires a vote unless anybody have an objection.
That's Tuesday the 29th.
Tuesday, the 29th.
Excuse me, this is Eva. I just want to ask if that changes the deadline date for information sent to it for that meeting.
Yes,
The-
I think it would advance
yes,
everything a week.
I think that's correct.
Yeah, I would say things would probably be due on the 15th, I think. Or the 8th.
Oh,
I'll figure it out.
And can you make sure Tiffany changes the website to reflect the fact so people will see it when they look it up?
Okay.
Thank you.
Whoops, one more thing. I was not able to make the site visit on Monday, but I was wondering if a couple members wanted to come out to Sweeney Field with me to look at a potential project out there. I went to meet with the two wetland scientists on Friday when they were doing the delineation. And so I saw it, in person as they were working through it, and it's pretty obvious to me where the wetlands are. But if I could get a couple members to just go with me on site and take a look. They're preparing for a project and just want to get your eyes on it.
Yeah.
When do you want to go?
What's the project?
They want to expand the field. And yeah, it needs some viewing by a couple members. I know you have a delineation window of something like March to October or something. So they did the delineation prior to October, but no one was there to see it but me. So I mean, I agree with it, but
yeah,
when
we
do I
should
want
take a
to
look
do the
at it.
site visit? I could do tomorrow afternoon. Let's see.
I'm available middle of the day, Thursday or Friday, but not tomorrow.
Okay, hold on. Said Thursday or Friday?
I think.
Thursday morning?
Noontime would be ideal for me.
Noontime? Okay,
Noon or
all
one.
right,
Yeah.
sounds good.
I can do that.
Noon Thursday.
Okay,
Yeah,
What's the date?
I'm booked, so I won't be able to join you.
And where is this?
Sweeney Field?
Sweeney Park,
Sweeney
okay.
Park. Yep.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, just to clarify, they have a project they would like to do, which is rather extensive, which because of the flags, I was there on Monday, they may not be able to do even if you're generous in what you allow them to do. So so that's why having you go out and kind of getting a sense of they are also looking at some alternatives for design. So that's why kind of getting your feedback is very important.
Yeah, and I'm on the Parks and Rec. We talked about that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. The constant quest to get more playing fields and more playing time. We've been there, done that. I think they also want to put in a bathroom and a few other improvements.
Yeah.
They've been trying to do that for a long time.
Okay, Thursday at noon. Whoever can attend, join me and Kristen and see you there. Shall we move to the minutes? We have one set, ably prepared for August 20. Any corrections on page 1?
Nope.
No,
Okay, on page 2.
Nope.
Down below the second half of the page, it says Conservation Fund. I'm gonna have to light this up. There we go. What I wrote is Mr. Gang has requested of the town administrator that $10,000 be added to the conservation fund by town meeting vote. That's specifically what I did. And Eva, I can send you that language if we agree to it. Then under open space, we should probably clarify that of the 330 acres of the De Normandy Trust, only around 150 are within Manchester. And 50 acres of Manchester land are unrestricted, which is the reason for taking this to CPC. And finally, third line from the bottom says, had made some recommendations that a Gordon College assessment, I think it means Gordon Woods assessment. We didn't need to assess the college, just the woods. Anything else on 2? On 3. Third line, 37 Bennett Street, there is a yurt or fancy tent. Under filing fees. Still awaiting recommendations from Conservation Administrator. Mr. Gang has done preliminary research on about a dozen comparable towns. And then right in the middle of the page under site visit 33 Smiths Point Road, 4th line, Mr. Gang would like to see first-hand evidence instead of had.
Right?
And finally, on that section, 33 Smiths Point, worth noting, commissioners would like to see direct evidence during spring storms before further action is taken. 35 Coolidge Point Road. Second line, one of the concrete footings has either eroded or deteriorated. Anything else on page 3? Anything on page 4?
Yeah.
David, you can correct me here, but I think you pointed out that the roof of the house at 44 Woodholm has been painted bright blue, not the entire house.
Well, the entire
Listen.
house is blue too.
Is it
The
in-
entire house.
The entire house. Great, then that's correct. I don't have any other changes. So let me move, we accept the minutes of August 20 as amended.
I'll second.
All those in favor, Jeff,
Aye.
Gordon,
Aye.
Henry,
Aye.
Olga,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
Marie,
Aye.
and I'll make that unanimous. Thank you. No orders of condition to discuss tonight. Is that correct, or Kristen, do we have anything that held over from the last meeting?
We have one from last meeting. It should be in the Dropbox. Can't remember which one it is. Hold on.
Oh dear.
It was the Plum Hill Road one.
Plum Hill Road.
I apologize for forgetting about that. I have not looked back at that. Has anybody?
Nope.
Yes.
Jeff, do you have any suggested perpetual or special conditions?
Well, I was concerned that, I mean, the document is a little bit confusing to me. And under findings, it says that there's findings that of significance for the protection of the wetlands. And then all of the areas of finding are crossed out.
Oh, right. So I sent a draft that was not great. I crossed them off because that's just my notation to myself to look at them and make sure that they have the correct information that's reflected, that reflects what's in the notice of intent. It's not meant to cross them out completely. It's just, I hadn't gotten to that part of it yet.
Okay. That was very puzzling to me.
Jeff, what are you looking at? I'm in Dropbox, but I don't see it.
Page 1, findings.
Page 1 of the
application, or all
The
that's in
NOI is the only
Dropbox is
thing.
the application?
No,
Yeah,
this
all I
is
see
the
is
order
Drop-
of conditions by law only for 208 Summer
Okay,
Street.
so that wasn't provided in the Dropbox.
It's not in Dropbox. How did you get it?
I got it out of Dropbox.
Well, where did you find it?
Well, hang on a second.
Thank you. It's not under
I see it.
September.
It's at the It's not in the folder for this meeting. It's at the top level of our Concom
Meeting
meeting
materials?
materials.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Good, good detective work.
Can we review it when we're ready for it? Doesn't sound like we're ready for it.
Well,
didn't-
we have no choice. We have to issue it today. It's the
Oh.
last day of the tolling period.
Okay,
So general conditions are standard. Reconstruction requirements are as well. Special conditions.
I had a problem with general conditions. Number 5. This is on page 3.
What's the problem?
The last sentence in number 5 says, all changes shall require additional approvals from the MCC. And that's a statement without deliberation. It seems to me that that should read, changes may require additional approvals.
Well, if you change the plan of record for something we've issued,
That's probably a
think you're-
standard condition, but I can change
Yeah,
that
you're-
standard.
you're going to require our approval, aren't
Yeah,
you?
I'm concerned that that leads an applicant to think that they can make changes and they can decide whether they require further approval.
Yeah.
We've
mean,
already had
It
cases where
says
people
really
are changing.
clearly that the MCC shall be informed of all changes that may be made to the plan of record by any board, commission, or authority as a result of changes by the applicant.
Right.
I am raising the issue that all changes shall require additional approvals from the MCC.
I think we've always said that because if you it's like changing one party changing a contract that both have signed.
Right.
Clearly, the other party would have to approve that.
And if they bring a change that we are happy to approve, we're happy to approve it. I think the bigger risk is that they don't bring us a change.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, but those are all boards that are town boards, correct?
No, but what you read said all changes that require review by those boards or anything that changes as far as the documents of record should be brought to us.
Exactly. I mean, if they decide to substitute a different color brick for the existing brick, that doesn't change the plan of record, and they can do it if it, changed the length or width of a retaining wall, they should come to us with a modification. But this is more fundamental. This is if the plan itself is altered.
Okay.
So I think it's appropriate. Okay, back to special conditions, or is there any need for perpetual conditions here? Are there mitigation? Forgive me, I'm just not back up to speed on this site.
I don't remember there being a lot of specific special conditions on this. I think it was fairly,
Yeah, what's in jurisdiction here is
generic.
just the leaching field, correct? It's coming back to me.
yeah. So it
And the
was,
leaching-
it was pretty mild.
Yeah,
And they're putting a little retaining wall or something to keep it level, I guess, where the
yep, I
field
think
is.
that's right.
And then
I'm not-
they were also, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, I'm not sure we need to insist on monumenting a leaching field.
No.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of threat here from what I remember.
Okay, so we may be able to get by without any perpetual conditions.
The one I noted was number 20. The applicant or contractor is responsible for permitting the removal of any town trees as defined by the Manchester Town Tree Policy.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably a
That
good one to
was-
have in all of our.
Yeah, that probably should be in.
So that was the only
Might
one
there
that
be-
noted as a perpetual.
I assume because this is a septic system, there's not going to be ledge there. But do we need to say anything? Should they need to do any kind of blasting as part of this process? or
Number
anything like that?
38 speaks to blasting. No blasting shall be permitted under this order.
Okay,
If it's discovered during the course of work that blasting will be necessary, the applicant shall
Okay.
file for an amended order.
great. Thank you.
That's kind of
So-
another standard one since there's so much ledge around.
Makes sense. So the only condition marked as perpetual is number 20, and that's done by number 23.
Correct.
Is it right? And 20 is that you have to permit the removal of any town trees.
Mhm.
I guess that makes sense. There is no mitigation planning, no survivability, no de-icing or storage. I guess you're right. This one may be very straightforward. We're lucky. Everyone in agreement on that?
Yes.
Okay. Saved by the leaching field. So I'm not sure how we can vote to approve the order with all the crossouts in it, Kristen, because they look like they're dropped out.
Okay.
Some of them should be like mitigation plannings, but others, as Jeff said, are what's your advice here? Should we?
My advice would be to issue the order conditions with the crossed out areas corrected to reflect what's in the NOI.
All right. And will you circulate to all of us
I
that
can.
document?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
No. Well,
I
not the way I'd like
believe
to do this.
I-
Go ahead, Jeff.
Steve, I believe the findings that aren't even listed, other than the fact that those are crossed out, aren't even listed in this group of findings. This is like a boilerplate for findings. And the issue here was vernal pool, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Correct.
And that's not even there.
Well,
Okay,
then,
so that correction needs to be put in there.
let's put it there.
So the findings are that 1 applies to A, a vernal pool.
Within
Yeah.
200 feet,
Yes.
or within 100 feet of the buffer zone for vernal. And on the issue of town tree policy, does that need to be a perpetual condition if it's a standard condition? Do the standard conditions expire at the expiration or the certificate of completion?
They
Yeah, when the
expire-
OC expires,
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so it does.
or we issue a certificate of compliance. Yeah, this is kind of a mess, as it is. As it cites a waiver granted for the inner buffer zone, which is not the case here. And
There's a lot of repetition in it. Huh?
Yeah, and includes on page 2 and 3, 5,000 square foot of compensatory mitigation comprised of native plants and shrubs. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be checked and clarified on this, Kristen.
Okay.
So we're gonna,
And it needs to be done tomorrow, correct?
needs to be filed tomorrow, yeah. It needs to be voted tonight. And we're
Do you want me to
given
bring
its
up the-
current
I-
state,
Maybe I can just bring up the live document and go through it that way.
pardon?
Do you want me to bring up the live document and go through it that way?
Oh, I don't want to edit it here and now.
Okay.
It's beyond our remit to edit the entire document. Most of it is boilerplate to us. Part that we edit is the special and perpetual conditions, because the rest is supposed to be, drafted by you appropriate to this project.
Just to confirm, was this the one that was local bylaw only or no? No, this
Yes,
is more
this
than,
is
oh, this is
Local
just
bylaw
local
for
bylaw.
vernal pool only.
Okay.
Scrolling through it and finding special conditions on page 4 and 5. And then perpetual conditions on pages 7 and 8. And pages 7 and 8 refer to de-icing chemicals and plowed snow and 30-foot no disturb. So these aren't right either.
Can I update this tomorrow and then have one of you look it over? I mean, I know it's not a, oh.
I don't know whether we have a provision for an e-vote tomorrow, and in any case, the 14-day period ends tonight, so. The only thing I can think for us to do is to vote it, subject to your correction and list specifically what the special and perpetual conditions are, which, as I said, should be relatively simple because there don't need to be any perpetual conditions.
Yeah.
And the special conditions are already listed here.
So we're not going to put the town tree policy into perpetual conditions. I thought we just discussed that.
I don't see what effect it would have for us to do
Yeah,
that. It would
it's-
it would remain.
It's
You
still
know,
this town tree
It still
policy
applies. It
regardless.
applies whether we make it perpetual or not.
Steve, it's like, is number 43 the perpetual condition that additional alteration prohibited? Is that standard that we just have that in there?
Yes, that's a good idea. We have it under special, but we didn't make it perpetual. The
They're
draft.
under section F, it's there.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it's basically the same as 15, which is a special condition, not perpetual. So yes, 43 of the perpetual. All right, so I move, just to get us off the dime here, that we issue an order of conditions for Plum Hill at the correct DEP filing number, which contains corrected versions of findings and general conditions, along with the special conditions listed presently on pages 4 and 5 of the draft, and the perpetual condition number 43. I think that's the only one
Well, I mean,
listed
I'm
on
sorry to,
page 7 of the draft.
fertilizers, pesticides, herbicides within the resource area. I mean, that feels like a good perpetual one because it is going to be a lawn area.
Sure. Good
Number
point. So
51.
43 and 51.
It's not lawn area though. Is it?
No, it just says don't use them within 100 feet of the resource areas. And that includes the 100-foot buffer to the 100-foot
Mhm.
resource area of a pool. All right, so to recap, this will be corrected as to findings and general conditions, and it will include the special conditions listed on pages 2 and 3, 4 and 5, and perpetual conditions numbers 43 and 51 on pages 7 and 8. Is there a second?
Second,
Before we vote,
Yes,
project-
please.
project location is different than the heading on the order of conditions. This property's been subdivided. Has it been assigned 208 Summer Street? And if
That was
so,
that was an error on the applicant's
Applicant's
part. So
part.
what I'm gonna put in there is 208 Summer Street
is the
12
project
Plum Hill Road,
location?
and 214 Summer Street. Just because it's been confused as all three. Not on our part, but on the applicant's part.
Yeah.
But the map and lot number would be the better way to identify the lot.
Okay. That falls under the heading of corrections in the motion, as far as I'm concerned. Let's get the address, map and lot number correct. Moved and seconded. Any other comments? All right, all those in favor? Sari,
aye.
Olga,
I,
Henry,
Aye.
Gordon,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
David,
Aye.
and I'll be an aye as well. Thank you. That was a unexpected and gnarly thing. I think actually we've done our work tonight. Any other things not envisioned when the agenda was formed?
shall I do
Alrighty
it?
then. Time for Tuesday night football, as they say.
Right, well, I move that we adjourn.
Second,
I will look for any objections, and seeing none, I will declare it so by acclamation. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Enjoy the
Aye.
entertainment tonight.
Enjoy the debate.
Enjoy the entertainment, yes.
Yeah.